Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to a video. We're here with Itachi Uchiha Naruto Top 99 Edition. Now, yeah, this is technically the fourth Naruto Top Edition, or third for most people, since Kakashi was an exclusive at SDC. But yeah, the most important part, cloth cloak. I mean, this is a first for the Naruto line. I'm looking forward to seeing what it actually looks like and feels in person, and maybe check it out on a few other figures too. I will be taking photos of probably a bigger section of figures as well, so keep an eye on Insta for that later. But yeah, for now, let's just jump straight and pop out of a box and see what he does come with. So we have Itachi in the center, along with 4 additional face plates. We get, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of hands, katana, and the katana being drawn. And then, most importantly, behind him we have that cloth Akatsuki cloak. So I'm pretty keen to pop it on Itachi, see what it looks like. And yeah, let's do that. Check out the finish, some articulation, have a look at the face plates, maybe a couple of poses before we wrap up the final thoughts at the end. So feel free to skip forward to the point that you're interested in, and again, more photos on Insta later. Now before we pop the cloak on, just want to have a quick look at his base figure finish, just so you can have a look at this, see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure most people will be using him with that cloak, however, it is good to get a closer look at him overall anyway. So around the waist here, the colour separation for his belt is crisp and clean. He has red around his ponytail as well, and then again the colour separation from his pants to his shin area through to his sandals is nice as well. So overall pretty straightforward and basic. We do have some nice sculpting in the legs and around the torso area for the folds in his clothes, as well as on the upper arm. The mesh printing for his inner top is really crisp and clean, and then he also has his necklace there, which is actually, yeah, looking really good. Hopefully we'll get a bit of a closer look at that when we check out the faces though. Okay, so now we have the cloak attached to him, and yeah, one thing I want to highlight is the printing of the clouds. I think looks really crisp and clean. Again, with the separation with the inner maroon colour with the outer black is nice. The stitching appears to be good as well. I mean, it does look, he's kind of swimming there. My biggest negative point with cloth goods on figures is generally scaling isn't very good. Things like fabric, water, those things don't really scale down well from, I guess, a normal 1-to-1 size. So it does look a little bit bulky. The clothes doesn't really fold too well over them. So I feel like maybe a standing pose probably isn't the best way to display this figure. I think it'll probably shine a bit more once you get more dynamic poses with Itachi here with the cloak on him. But one thing which is really cool I want to highlight is that it actually goes together with a metal clip, which I think is really nice. We don't have any Velcro or anything weird like that, and there is wire in the cloth cloak as well, so you can bend it around, fold it if you want. And yeah, I definitely love the colours. I think they definitely nailed that, and it pairs beautifully with the more subtle colours of Itachi. I think he's a little bit more of a charcoal colour compared to the anime, because yeah, the Naruto ones are based on the manga, or the manga art, or I guess more specifically the Celebration art, which is manga based opposed to anime. So there are subtle differences if you are only an anime watcher and you're wondering why the colours do look different to the Itachi that you know and love. Now before we jump into the articulation, I do want to have a quick look at the cloak just by itself without the figure, since this is the first time we've had one with a Naruto figure, which is cool. So as I showed earlier, it does have a metal clasp on the inside to hold it shut, which is nice. And to put it on, you can just fold it open and then put the arms back and then slot it in, basically like so. So actually really easy to put on and off, which is nice. And as I mentioned before, the stitching feels good. We do have a subtle wire running all the way around the outside, so you can bend it, pose it, kind of get it flapping up and, you know, in the wind. If you have the recent Gohan release, very similar to that, but I think that one was only single layer. This one here is double layered as well, so something to keep in mind there. The neck part, we don't have any wire on the top though, it's just around the side and bottom. Now jumping to the articulation with the head, going forward, it is amazing, look at that. His ponytail can also swivel, pivot and move around, which is great to see. You can look at really well, side to side. The motion on the head and neck is fantastic. The arm as well can lift up and around. Yeah, we get decent range of motion on the front with the biceps over there as well. He does remind me a little bit of the Orochimaru figure, a little bit there. So yeah, if you have other figures, yeah, kind of similar to that. Nice range going forward, back, nice swivel around. The lower half here is soft rubber, so it will move out of the way when needed, which is great. Upper thigh swivel, knee joints great. Ankle, you know, the Naruto figures nail the ankles, absolutely fantastic range of motion, up, down, swivel, left, right, pivot, anything you want is great. And then the usual toe tip range of motion there as well. Each of the faceplates has crisp and clean printing, especially with the Sharingan eye effect, which is really nice to see. And it's good that we get a nice selection of looking forward and off to the side. We have one with one eye closed and so forth. So a nice little section there. Plus we get the face where you can do it for the like the cut on effect or fire blast attack that he does, which is pretty cool to see. Now, even though this figure is based on VR, it comes with a great set of hands so you can kind of recreate all those scenes in the series, you know, especially those final moments when he's, you know, fighting against Sasuke, which is pretty cool. I have a very quick and simple pose here, holding the sword. Now the sword is one solid piece, so it is quite easy to work with, which is great. And also while I have him here, I want to highlight his Akatsuki ring, which is really cool. Has a nice reflective red colour in there for the jewel, which is pretty cool to see. As well as the nail polish on his fingers there with a subtle blue colour, which is nice to see as well. And even though he does have the cloak on, it is still pretty easy to work with and pose, even while it's on here. Everything does kind of move really well. And again, okay, the clips popped off there, pop that back on. But even then, since this is flexible, we'll move out of the way for the legs if needed, if you are kind of doing some bit more dynamic poses. So actually, let's switch them up. Swap with a sword and put him in a bit more of a dynamic pose with the cloak. Okay, so I've got the drawn katana attached to him, his finger spread hand on as well, which I think is really cool. And yeah, I like how we do have wire in the cloak since we can fold it up and around, especially if we want to go for more dynamic poses. Now obviously you could keep the cloak shut as well if you want, or bring it a bit closer. But yeah, whether or not you have him on the ground, up in the air, on a stand, it's really cool how you can move the cloak around however you want. And basically, you know, your imagination is your limit for the type of pose you want to do with it. And yeah, I feel like it looks so much better in motion opposed to being a kind of base standing pose for Itachi. But definitely let me know in the comments below how you'll be posing him. Will you be going with a more dynamic one with the, you know, the cloak fluttering in the wind, or will you go a bit more of a static standing pose with him? Definitely keen to hear what everyone will do. I'm leaning more towards on the stand in the air type pose, but I'll need to have a wee play around and see where I can fit him in on the shelf first at least. For those wondering if you can switch the cloak on with a few other characters, I do have Sasuke here. I feel his arms are a little bit short. His hands do kind of go to the end, but not quite out. So if you want to see the hands, you have to lift the cloak up a little bit, and it gets a bit more rumpled. Yeah, I think kind of a bit more standing here in a dynamic pose works pretty good. It is a bit more thicker in a way, so we can't close it either. But you know, it's not too bad, especially kind of in the background pose, or at least for some photos. I think it could definitely work pretty well. Oh, Naruto works pretty good actually. I think his arms being a little bit longer does work a little bit better. You can definitely close up the cloak as well. So yeah, Naruto rocking the Akatsuki cloak pretty well. So Akatsuki's latest Drunken Master, Rock Lee, yeah, you know, it fits on him pretty well. I do look forward to an updated version of Lee here. Hopefully we get one in the future, but works pretty good, especially with a bit more motion in his cloak as well. Like, but yeah, really cool. Let's see who else can rock the cloak. Alright, Goku's about to teleport into the Great War. Yeah, looks pretty good actually. Definitely a little bit more of a tighter fit since he is bulkier on top compared to the Naruto figures. But yeah, not too bad. It can even close up on him as well. Again, definitely a little bit more snug compared to Itachi though. Yeah, I think we've kind of hit our limit. Kaiju 8, definitely a bit too big and bulky to fit it on. I mean, you can get it on his arms in, but yeah, his shoulders and arms can't fully get in. It's kind of stuck down a bit low, but yeah, still not too bad for like maybe a transformation like pose or something like that. So just finished for me, about to rip it apart, then go in and kick some kaiju ass. But yeah, I'm actually impressed with how many figures this cloak can fit onto. Let me know who else you'd like to see it on actually. Can definitely add it to the list of photos to be taken. But yeah, let's switch over to the final thoughts. So jumping over to the pros and cons for this release, straight away the massive pro is Itachi. Considering the original release was quite sought after and he was extremely limited, especially with that fixed plastic cloak. So now we get the cloth Itachi cloak, which does eliminate a lot of the issues that the original one had. We can actually pose it, it can flow a bit better, and it does look a lot tidier. So I think the cloak is a big pro for this release. The printing's nice, the colours I really like, the metal clasp is a nice touch opposed to say something like Velcro or something a bit more cheap that they could have used. We then get a nice selection of faceplates, a huge selection of hands, and then the obviously the drawn katana and the being drawn katana to match up with that NARUTOP99 artwork is really cool. For me though, the cons, I'm still not 100% sold on cloth cloaks or cloth goods in general for static poses. Like, I think standing here base, it doesn't look as good, it looks a bit more bulky. You can play around with a lot more, and a lot more finessing can be, you know, you play around with it, you'll get it looking better. But straight out, you know, it's a bit more fiddly, basically, you know, I'll put it that way. However, with dynamic poses, I think it looks a lot better, especially the way you can bend it, pose it up. So, you know, pros and cons here, I think some people like it, some people prefer the plastic ones. But I think for a figure like this, where the cloak covers most of the body, going cloth is definitely a step in the right direction. The overall Naruto lineup has been pretty cool. Obviously we have Kakashi as well, who I don't actually have at the moment, waiting on mine to ship later next year. But anyway, I hope this is the end of the Naruto line. I don't really need any more from the packaging, I feel. Maybe Sasuke, just a lineup, but instead I'd rather just focus on the original Naruto series, both the pre and post time skip. Obviously they've teased, what is it, Shikamaru, who'll be cool. I'm hoping we get a few more characters to mix and match in from both the heroes and villains of this series. And eventually I'd love to get a, QB Monster Art style release. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about the Itachi release. Did it meet your expectations or not? And who do you want to see next from the Naruto line? Definitely keen to hear everyone's thoughts on that. But anyway, there's it for the video. So again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers!